Good morning, cows. Good morning. It is Friday, January 30th, so almost into February. Weather outside, we're in the barn right now, obviously, but weather outside is probably around 8 or 9 degrees. Supposed to get up to 14 today. Then tomorrow it's supposed to hit 20s and then stay in 20s as highs during the day for the foreseeable future, which is 10 days. But I'm going to start with feeding these guys some hay, but first I'm going to sweep up their silage so that they can eat that up as well. When it's around this temperature of single digits during the day and negatives overnight, the sun makes it warm enough during the day to start melting some of the snow and ice on the roof, and then it drips down through the roof into the shed here, or maybe not through the roof, but condensation. No, yeah, that's probably what it is, condensation. But it's cold enough that it drips down and then freezes rather than evaporating. So we end up with all these little mini icebergs on the floor, which you wouldn't think would be too bad, but if you step on one, you'll slip. And driving carts over them, or pulling carts over them rather, can tip them over if you're not careful. On the menu this morning is this, I believe it's first crop from the Woodsay field. I think it's a grass alfalfa mix, like most of it is. Just trying to figure out what part of the hayfield it's from. Maybe what we call the B field could be. Some of the smaller parts of the Woods hayfield. It could be from the larger main part as well, but I feel like that would be more on the alfalfa side than the grass side. Now that the cows are fed and eaten up their snack, they will have that eaten up probably in an hour or so. Then I can go give them some more. But in the meantime, I want to find a chain I know I have in here that is damaged, I believe. Both of these are new. This one is also new. Because I know I have one in here that needs to be touched up. I have a very messy chainsaw toolbox. And I know that this channel is not a chainsaw or wood cutting channel. It's our farm vlog channel. But as far as our daily life goes in the winter, we heat our house 100% with wood. We have no backup heaters or anything like that. It's all 2 wood stoves in the house. So all winter long, we are burning wood at any given time. We like to have, or we need to have, at least one fire going during the winter at all times. I didn't know I had so many chains down here. Now, sometimes we will forget, or I will forget, that there is a fire going in the house. Forget to put wood on it, and you have to restart it. Well, it looks like I have a lot of chains I could go through. My goodness. So I'm going to get these sorted out and see what I've got here. Well, I separated out my chains, got them all untangled. These are 3 chains that I can tell are older, a little more stretched, a little more worn teeth, so I'm not as eager to deal with those ones. They've served their purpose, but different 3 chains I set aside here, and I can tell that they have some damaged teeth, or they're dull, or for some reason, like this one, that, I don't know if you can tell. If I'd actually point the camera at it, maybe. Actually, cameras don't focus it ever very well, but just damaged, kind of rounded off teeth. So I'm going to see if I can take these over to the bench grinder, see if I can fix these up. If anyone's curious, this is my chainsaw, Husqvarna 445, and I've had that for 6 or 7 years probably. Well, I got the chains cleaned up and I'm back at the bench grinder, but I think I'm going to leave it now here for today. I at least have my chains separated now, all untangled, and they're ready to be sharpened, but I should probably start thinking about going and feeding the cows a little bit more hay. And then I will show you in a second, but one of the front tires on the tractor yesterday started leaking, so we have to worry about that too. Today we're probably just going to pump it up like we did yesterday and do our work while it slowly leaks out. It should stay up long enough for us to do our work. But I'm going to have to get another bale in the barn and then clean the barn. And probably have to fill up the tire in between the 2 of those things. But I should probably leave this for today so I can get going on those other things. So before I go in and start feeding hay, I am putting my tire pump on this tractor. So hopefully this thing will pump it up at least somewhat while I'm feeding a bit of hay so I can bring a bale in right away when I'm done. I don't know what caused it to start leaking yesterday. I went to the woods to get some bales and then I split wood and brought some wood down to the house, but that was about it. And then we found a flat tire a couple hours later. That is a tubed tire. So the leak where air is actually coming out is around the valve stem. But it's been cold, and we haven't really had time to pull the tire apart, and I don't know how well it would come apart with how cold it is. It's going to be a little warmer tomorrow and in the next days. So my dad was actually talking about bringing the tire in the barn tonight, taking it off the tractor, so at least tomorrow when we would go to work on it, it would be, 40 degrees, 50 degrees, warm, cold, 50 degrees temperature, so that the rubber would actually be a little bit more pliable. But now I'm going to feed up the rest of this hay so that I can bring a new bale in once my tire is pumped up. So I'm gonna get this pumped up to 20 something. It's looking pretty good already, but it needs to hold enough air for me to get my work done. I've got the tractor warming up so it's ready to go once I am done pumping the tire, and then hopefully I can get the bale in before it goes flat. And then I'm gonna have to do the same thing for hauling manure a little bit later. Alright, luckily all I need to do is drive out back right now to grab a bale. Yesterday, when we found it was flat, we tried to start gate 56. Farmal 856. Right over there, I don't know if you can see it. To, do spreader duties. And it started, but I couldn't get anything for power steering. And my hydraulic brakes, even after letting it warm up for 10 minutes or so, still couldn't get my hydraulic brakes or my hydraulic clutch torque. So hydraulics just weren't really anything to speak of yesterday on the 856. So that's why we had to make this tractor work, because we don't really have any other options. I have my Farmall 300. Now that has live 2-way hydraulics. And in theory, it would have live PTO, and it should have live PTO. But one of the main drive gears for the PTO down in the belly of the tractor was sheared off on one part of the gear. So now that gear is just kind of slid on the shaft out of the way. So my PTO on my 300 doesn't work at all. So while the hydraulics would work for the spreader, I can't haul with no PTO, obviously. And then our only other tractor option would be the Super C or the H, but both of those don't have hydraulic remotes and they're just a little bit too light to haul manure. Use a bit of sharpening, but I'm going through some pretty dense grass right here too, so it's taking a little bit. I also think my hydraulics are still a little bit cold. Done. That took a sec. This is the selection. This is Woods hayfield. I'm thinking second or third crop. It looks pretty good. Alfalfa grass mix, like almost everything we have. Works well. Good feed. Now I just need to feed the other half of the barn and I can move on from this job. Alright, it's been almost a couple hours now since I fed the cows some hay, and Paul and I, my brother-in-law Paul and I, went to the woods to get some firewood. Came back and I noticed here on the tractor that the tire slime that my dad put in there yesterday must have finally found the hole, because it is no longer leaking. So I praise the Lord for that. So now I can just start the tractor, drop the knife off, and then grab the manure spreader so I can clean the barn. Now I have to keep this other half of the PTO shaft in the shop overnight. Not that the shop is heated, but if I leave the two pieces of PTO together overnight, then they freeze together and then I can't get them to move when I need to hook it up the next day. I'm very thankful that that tire stopped leaking. It's a lot less stress driving the tractor around, a lot less hurry when I'm not racing air. Alright, we're all back in, so now I'm going to go inside and get everything ready to go. Get the chute unfrozen, clean up the aisle, clean up the stalls. Then once I'm sure everything will move, I can turn it on. As the weeks have gone by without going beneath freezing at all, a lot of ice and stuff is built up over these rocks, so the heifers have to be careful as they walk up to their water tank, which also is kind of freezing. Someone might cringe a little bit that I'm reaching my hand into freezing water. I don't know if anybody will, but it's a lot better than reaching my glove into freezing water, because then I'm just working with a wet glove. And now they have open water, and I have a cold hand that's freezing to the gate handle. Anyway, I'm gonna go inside and get everything ready to go. I believe I have everything all cleaned up here. Should be ready to go. Got that cleared out. Out here I have all the ice broken, I believe. So yeah, we're gonna flip it on and see if she moves. And we're moving. We got the spreader all filled up, pulling away from the barn. We've just got one little strip left in this field that I've got to get. And then we're gonna head up back over to the triangle field up on top of this little hill here and see if we can find any more patchy spots or just rehaul it. We can't get too much manure up there because that spot kind of doesn't really get a whole lot of runoff or anything like that, so it completely relies on what we put on it. This field, at least around the edges, it's our lowest field on the property in general already, but around the edges it gets just manure runoff with rain from this pasture here, because this pasture borders two sides of it, and then there's a ditch on the other side of it, so it all gets pretty well watered and fertilized. But this field up here, any of these fields up here, can't really put too much manure on them, so that's what we're gonna do. Alright, so we're just doing a couple passes across this patch of snow, and then we'll shut it off, probably, yeah, shut it off, and then go up to the field up there. I don't like shutting the spreader off with the load on it, because now the manure is up against the beaters, and then you have to get the beaters moving with manure up against them, which isn't great. But even now, as I'm turning around, I'm going to shut it off so I'm not throwing it everywhere that it doesn't need to be. So turn around, maybe one more pass down, one more pass up, and we'll be covered right in the center here. So right when I turn it back on, I'm going to turn it on slowly, and it's just going to throw it. Yep, there we go. Because I'm not sure if it's ever happened, but I can totally see it shearing a shear bolt or shear pin when I turn it on. If I turned it on a little too quickly, or if it had a lot of manure up against it. But actually, no, that's pretty well covered back there, so I'm going to go a little bit further and shut it off. Alright, now we're going to head up to the other field and see what we can cover up there. Alright, I think on this field that the most patchy spot is probably right about in the middle, so I'm going to take the rest of this manure and just do a few passes, circles around the middle of the field. I've already covered this field once, so it's not super important to where I get it, but I'm trying to get it where there is the least. I think that's somewhere in the middle here. It's also covered in snow pretty well, so hard to guess. And then since we cut these fields as hay fields, before stuff really starts growing in the spring, I will come by with probably my 300 and just drag and try to break up all these manure clumps and drag them across the fields to help make it smooth and make it so that the rain can really wash it down. Also helps the hay bine to not grab big chunks of manure, put it in the row, and then ultimately into the feed when we come to bale it up. I made a video on that earlier this year using my beautiful Farmall 300. I can probably link it in a little pop-up icon up in the corner of the screen right now. So you can check that out if you want to see my shiny Farmall 300 out working in the fields. Okay, that's all done there. So we should be done with the tractor for today, and now we can head down to the barn and probably start milking. I also want to talk to Lydia. Lydia and Paul are over here with their baby. I want to talk to Lydia and get her on camera a little bit and get a bit of an update from her. Well, milking is done now, and cows are fed and cows are bedded, so all the chores of the day are done. It's Friday night, so now I'm going to be able to go inside and eat some pizza when I get done narrating the end of this video. But I wanted to get Lydia on camera today because she had her baby, Audrey, last Friday. She and Paul and Audrey are over here right now, but Lydia didn't really want to get on the camera right now, and I completely understand that, so we'll get her on the show. Maybe not next time, I don't know. One of the next times we'll get Lydia back on. But yeah, everybody's happy in the barn. And you can see they all have their hay. Some of them aren't even really too eager to get up and eat it. They're comfortable with their bedding. Blanche just stood up. But I'm gonna close up the barn, go inside and eat some pizza because I'm hungry. So I hope you enjoyed the video. That's about it. I don't really know what else to say. So I will see you next week. Thanks for watching.